Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 21st of January. My name is Sahil and I welcome you all at Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video, and in this video we are going to discuss entire analysis of Hindu newspaper. We'll take articles along with their background. Fine, and here we are going to cover the entire newspaper along with the editorials. And before starting, I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer PDF from the Telegram channel. Link for Telegram channel is given in description box. Or you can directly visit Telegram and can search there by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. Now, before starting up, let's see overview of newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important for us in the exam. So let's see overview first of all. So guys, here we have Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, and the first article, we did not wait, did what was right to help Sri Lanka, Jai Shankar. So guys, we are going to see this particular development, and recently External Affairs Minister has visited Sri Lanka. So all this development we are going to see. Then Air India fined 30 lakh rupees over mid-air urination row. Now guys, this case is going on from so many of the days. It's fine, but see, it's not very much important that you go and you track day-to-day development of this particular case. However, unruly passengers on the air flights or the aircrafts, they are needed to be dealt very strictly, because such kind of things invites serious action. Then further moving on, after that, dissolve Wrestling Federation of India says Congress. So guys, here we see this particular thing, that some of the wrestlers, they have alleged that they have been molested, they have been sexually molested. Then moving on in this particular direction guys, further, so then we have the advertisements city section, the regional news, students ban over students protest against ban on non-veg food. Fine. So regional news, tenders, etc., such kind of things have been given. No need to go too much in detail in such kind of an articles. Okay, fine. So no need to go too much in detail in such kind of an articles. And guys, then moving on, after that again the same regional issues, political issues have been carried. So we will be moving in this particular direction. Okay. Now, so we come to editorial section, but before that, this is one important article. Wayanad becomes the country's first district to provide basic documents to all tribal people. Few days back guys, we have also seen example of Kollam, which became first constitution literate state of India. So these kind of examples, case studies can be quoted in your answers. We'll take this. Then further coming to editorial section, the first article, there is hardly any autonomy at panchayat level. Good article talking about decentralization at the levels of the panchayat. What are problems of panchayat? We'll take this article. Then side article, trade wins. So guys, this article is talking about the performance of Indian exports in the month of December 2022. Now I have told you many number of times that every month's data of for December, for export, forex, inflation, they are not important. Okay, just when economic survey will come, we'll see entire preceding year's picture. Okay, because fine, by the time you'll write your exam, fine, these datas will be old, not relevant too much. Then at G20, a G20 presidency to amplify South Asia's voice. So we'll see that how India can play a role here. Then aging factory, the decline in China's population and how it is leading towards aging population and what lesson India can take from China. This article will be talking on that particular dimension. We'll take it. Then further moving on, this is guys ground zero report, and actually when we talk about this ground zero report, it basically ground zero means that it will be tracking some issue from the ground zero. It will report what people are facing. Now this article is talking about the shifting banks of the river Ganga. Okay, so this is something. So at different stretches we see this particular thing, that the Ganga river's bank are eroding. Then Supreme Court declines to entertain petitions on caste census. So basically guys, what has happened, we have seen recently that the Bihar government had started caste survey. Okay, they are officially using the word caste survey, though in article the word caste census has been mentioned. In this, they are actually carrying a demographic exercise where they will be identifying that what is the population of different caste people. Now that exercise of Bihar government has been challenged in Supreme Court. It is being said that caste census or such kind of an exercise can only be carried by central government. So Bihar government is not a competent authority in this particular respect. But Supreme Court has declined to entertain this particular petition. Supreme Court has declined to entertain that particular petition. So this is guys all this particular issue all about. Okay. Now, basically in this article, guys, as such, no substance has been given. Okay. Now, moving moving guys in this particular direction. After that, the political articles etc are there. No need to go much in detail. Big tech aggregators must split revenue fairly with news creators. Important article for examination, we'll see it. Then side article, political support key to make platform pay news publishers, we'll see this particular article also, guys. Then new guidelines to regulate promotion on social media, this article also we are going to see with respect to the examination. And then there are these tenders, advertisements etc that has been given. Then government policy muddle is stalling production of biodegradable plastics, we'll see this article with respect to the environment. Okay, internal security challenges are now thematic, says Shah. This particular article will also see with respect to examination, internal security, GS paper number 3. Then going on world page, okay, Xi Jinping speaks to troops along India-China border, no decision yet on sending German-made tanks to Kyiv. Okay, so guys, evolutionary articles, okay, in the context of Russia-Ukraine war. Now, you don't need to go too much in detail in the such kind of an issues. Okay, then coming to business page, Google axes 12% of its workforce, tech layoffs. Okay, so guys, we see this thing that there is that basically hiring winter that is going in tech sectors. Hiring winter means that new people are not being hired, but the old people, but the other workforce, that fine, they are also being laid off. Okay, so then after that, Reliance India Limited quarter profits, Wipros, okay, let's go of 450 freshers. Now these are the corporate trends that we have. Okay, and then after that we have the sports page. So this is, guys, overview of entire newspaper, to just to give an idea about today's newspaper, placement of different articles and what is majorly contained in newspaper. Now let's start, guys, our discussion one by one in detail. Okay, so in every class, guys, we start with a GS quotation. So today we are going to take quotation from Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi. So Gandhiji says that there is a higher court than the court of justice, and that is the court of conscience. It supersedes all other courts. So the court of law, it is one court which judges that whether your actions were right or not, whether you have committed any crime or not. But apart from this court of law, there is one higher court, that is the court of conscience. Your inner voice will often going to tell you that what wrong you have done, what immoral things you have done. Many number of times people have committed crime, and by the smart use of some legal tactics, they might be let off. Okay, they might be able to avoid the punishment, but still the court of conscience tells you that how guilty you are. So we need to understand that court of conscience is the higher court, and we should be with it supersedes all the courts. So this idea can be used in GS paper number 4 ethics. GS paper number 4 ethics. Now moving on, and let's take first article for today. So first article we have taken from the front page of the Hindu newspaper. We did not wait, did what was right to help Sri Lanka, Jai Shankar. Now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, international relation, and within international relation, relations with the neighbors, and within neighbors, India-Sri Lanka relation, India-Sri Lanka relation. So guys, actually what has happened, Minister of External Affairs has visited Sri Lanka. Now we know this particular thing that the Sri Lanka is undergoing economic crisis. So first of all, before going in this particular article and before seeing what this visit entailed, first of all, let's understand that why this economic crisis is going on in Sri Lanka. What are the most important and direct reasons which have led to economic crisis of Sri Lanka, and what is the present situation in which Minister of External Affairs had to visit Sri Lanka. So let's understand this particular issue and let's trace it from the very start. So guys, we see this particular thing that actually we see this particular thing that from the past few years, repeatedly Sri Lanka had faced certain economical challenges, and economic challenges started to exacerbate since 2019. Now what happened in 2019? First of all, guys, there was the Easter bomb blast that occurred in 2019 in Sri Lanka. Now this particular blast was very deadly, and in that there were more than 250 casualties that happened. And Sri Lanka is largely dependent on revenue coming from tourism activities, and when such kind of an attacks will happen, obviously tourists will get scared and tourism fall reduced in Sri Lanka. So because of this particular thing, number of tourists coming, it reduced and it led to decline in foreign exchange. It was a very big impact on Sri Lanka, number one. Number two, then guys, what happened? New government was formed in Sri Lanka, fine, led by Gotabaya Rajapakshas, and this government offered lower tax rates, okay, and a lot of freebies were offered particularly to the farmers during their campaign. Now understand this particular thing, that a state if needs to be viable, state has to have access to enough number of resources, and it entails financial resources as well. Many number of times what happens, countries, they promise in populism just to attract people a lot of tax breaks, but they don't consider that how then they will be able to commit essential expenditure, how they will be able to commit revenue expenditure that has to be done. So they promised lower tax rates, by that revenue declined, and at the same time freebies got extended. So what happened, the financial condition of Sri Lanka became bad. Then third reason what happened, COVID-19 pandemic came in 2020, and because of COVID-19 pandemic, tourists that were coming in Sri Lanka, it reduced a lot. Secondly, the exports that Sri Lanka was making, these exports also reduced, and therefore economy of Sri Lanka got suffered. And you remember all these things had started earlier. Okay, so the exports of tea, rubber, spices, garments, it came very much down. Tourism arrivals came down and revenues fell further. So the conditions were going bad, and in mid of this, what happened, the government's revenues also started to decline and expenditure started to increase, and therefore Sri Lanka started to see a fiscal deficit more than 10% in 2020-2021. Debt to GDP ratio, okay, debt in comparison to GDP, the debt to GDP ratio reached 94% in 2019, 119% in 2021. So it means that if your GDP is 100 rupees, your debt is 119 rupees. It is very high, unsustainable. Then next thing what happened, Sri Lanka suddenly announced that they are going to become a completely organic country, okay, organic farming. And they said that there is a complete ban on fertilizers, complete ban on fertilizer was made. Now understand this particular thing, that such big reforms cannot be taken overnight, but overnight Sri Lanka said that will be going towards organic farming. Because of this particular thing, what happened, the food production in Sri Lanka got impacted, and as food production got impacted, fine, the inflation started to increase. All these particular things are happening. So and at the end of the day, Sri Lanka's economic crisis became so severe that now Sri Lanka needs external assistance. Now, what is this external assistance? Sri Lanka needs bailout package. Today, guys, Sri Lanka don't have money to pay for essential imports on which they are dependent. Sri Lanka is dependent on imports, so they are not able to pay back. So today, the Sri Lanka has committed BOP crisis, balance of payment crisis. They don't have a foreign exchange to pay for the imports. Now, when there is a balance of payment crisis in any country, then that country can approach to IMF. The country can approach to IMF, and IMF has one arrangement, that is extended fund facility. Extended fund facility, and under extended fund facility, IMF can provide bailout package to that particular country. Now, thus, Sri Lanka is negotiating this bailout package with IMF, okay, and Sri Lanka is now negotiating this $2.9 billion package. But IMF has imposed one condition on Sri Lanka. IMF said that we will give you bailout package only when your three biggest creditors will give us assurance. Okay, when they will give assurance, your three biggest creditors, then only will give the money. Now, who are three biggest creditors of Sri Lanka right now? It is China, Japan, and India. So they have to provide financing assurances. Okay, so now what has happened? India had shown the bigger hurt, and India has directly reached to Sri Lanka. Minister of External Affairs visited Sri Lanka, and India has given a written financing assurance to the IMF. Fine. So I have told you that the three biggest creditors, okay, China, Japan, and India, they have to give assurance, and India has given it. So guys, this is the show of India's neighborhood first policy. Now guys, India always talked about the reciprocate, India always talked about helping the neighbors, but without any reciprocation, and this is something we can see. Now you should remember that Sri Lanka in past have gone a lot closer to China. For example, recently a Chinese surveillance ship got docked in Sri Lanka. India raised that particular matter, but still that Chinese surveillance ship, it docked in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka already had given Hambantota port for 99-year lease to China, okay, but still India has helped China. India has helped Sri Lanka. It is the showcase of India's neighborhood first policy. And this is not the only case, but at the same time, India has already extended $4 billion of help to Sri Lanka in last 1 year. Okay, so credits and many such kind of assistance have been given. Moreover, India has also provided that India is going to help Sri Lanka more, and India will encourage more investment in Sri Lanka, particularly in their economy, and India is going to focus particularly on core sectors, that is energy, tourism, infrastructure. Okay, now as Minister of External Affairs has visited Sri Lanka, they have also signed some of the high impact agreements, for example on renewable energy cooperation, fine, framework, renewable energy framework has been signed. Moreover, they have also signed the high impact community development project, to enhance the socio-economic indicators of Sri Lanka. This agreement has also been signed. So this is guys all about this Minister of External Affairs visit to Sri Lanka along with this background. So understand this particular thing guys, that first of all you need to have this basic background as why this economic crisis is going on. You need to have some crisp 4 or 5 points at your fingertips always if you need to start this answer. So that is all guys about it. I hope that you have understood it. And now moving to the next article. Aging factory. Okay, now this particular article is talking about the recent reports that have come, which talks that China's population has declined for the first time after 1961. So first of all, this particular article will be important for GS paper number 1, population and related issues. Fine, this particular article will be important for GS paper number 1, population and related issues. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about China, this year China deaths have surpassed the China's birth rate. So China recently has provided this particular thing, that China's population has shrunk as much as 8,50,000 in 2022. Okay, so China's population is going down and this shrink will continue for few years, and at the same time India's population is going up. So China's population is going down, India's population is going up, and according to United Nations World Population Prospect Report, India will surpass China in 2023 as most populous country. And fine, according to certain early estimates that had come, they have also said that India actually had passed China just few days back. Okay, so anyhow, India is set to become the most populous country in 2023 this year. That is going on. Now, the article is talking about that this decline in Chinese population that has come, this is the first time since 1961. And in 1961, why China's population declined? So in article, there is one word mentioned, that is great leap forward. So when great leap forward was going on in China, at that point of a time, their population came down. What is this great leap forward? So basically, Great Leap Forward, it was an economic or social campaign that was started by China between 1958 and 1962. Okay, so guys, as a part of China's developmental plan, under Mao Zedong, China provided that they are going to shift their economy, they are going to reconstruct their country from an agrarian economy into a communist society. Just a minute. Okay, so understand this thing. The Great Leap Forward was an economic plan for transformation of Chinese economy. They wanted to move from agrarian economy to communistic economy. It was provided that people's land will be consolidated. Okay, people's land will be consolidated. communes will be formed. Communes, people's groupings, people's organizations will be formed. Industrial communes will be formed. Agricultural communes will be formed. When we talk about, guys, socialism and eventually communism, it focuses on one ideology: everybody as per their capacity and everybody as per their need. It means everybody should contribute as per their capacity and everybody should take as per their need. There will be no surplus, there will be no private property, there will be no private wealth. Whatever additional surplus is there, it will be taken by the state and will be given to the people who don't have. Now, as this great leap forward got started and they wanted to move towards the communist model, what happened? Whatever surplus was there, it was taken back. Excessive production will be carried, but this thing did not happen very systematically. In the name of surplus, even the basic goods that people needed for their survival, they were taken. It led to starvation of people. That compulsorily people were moved from agriculture to industrial activities, and when the crop was ready for harvest, there was nobody to harvest that particular crop. Food simply rotted in the fields. Because of that particular thing, famine came, hunger came, and economic devastation of entire China happened. Millions and millions of people died during this period of 1958 to 1962, and this great leap forward became a kind of a big tragedy of China. And because so many people died because of starvation, mismanagement, what happened? The population of China declined during period of 1961. So this great leap forward had great ambition such as bringing prosperity in China, but it failed miserably because of mismanagement, because of corruption. Moreover, when this mismanagement was going on, nobody even reported this particular thing to higher authorities because media was heavily controlled. So this was a kind of a big crisis that came. Now again we see this thing that the Chinese population is declining. Now guys, we have a lot of lessons to learn from China. First of all, guys, understand this particular thing, that in India we have a very sensitive and emotional kind of a debate. We say that all problems of India are because of high population. Poverty is because of population, poor development is because of population, unemployment is because of population, and often we promote the idea of bringing the population regulation bill. Just last to last year, Uttar Pradesh government even introduced draft population bill where they said that families having up to 2 children will get a lot of government benefits, and family having more than 2 children will not get any incentives, benefits. Rather, some disincentives were proposed, and many state governments have come out with their own versions of population control bills, though they did not got passed. Now understand this thing, China has done this particular thing in past, and China has paid a lot of negative cost for that. We see this particular thing, guys, that in 1980 China came with one child policy. As China came with one child policy, point is that, guys, over 30 years so much of disincentives were imposed on people having more than one child that actually psychologically people's family planning preferences got completely changed. Today people don't want to have children. Now this thing has turned in a negative direction. Understand this particular thing, because people are nudged to not have more than one child. Today China's population has declined. Because of this particular thing, in 2016 China came with the two-child policy to recorrect the declining population. Now why declining population is a concern for China, guys? Understand this particular thing, that when population will decline, okay, there will be a problem that your productive workforce will decline. Population is declining. What it means, that more young generation is not coming and old people's number is increasing. Now every country has to reap the economic dividend out of their population. China is known for cheap manufacturing, and why China can do such cheap manufacturing? Because of cheap labor that we have. So cheap labor, cheap workforce is very much important for economic development of that country. Now China, because it doesn't have much of a population to work, their specific advantage is going down, and because of that in 2016 they introduced a two-child policy. Okay, and it was found that 70% of the people, fine, 70% of the people simply they don't need to have more children because there are the financial reasons tuition costs are increasing, education costs are increasing, cost of living is increasing. And now guys, China has come with the 3-child policy. You should have 3 children. They are giving you incentives, but people are not ready to have more population. This is some very big problem that has come. And as China's population is going down, their elderly population is increasing, and it has been provided that China's elderly population will peak into 2050, where Chinese 487 million people in China will be elderly. 35% of population, 35% of population of China will be elderly. Now point is that that advantage of favorable demography then will not come. Okay, they will not have that cheap labor, people will not be able to work. And it has been provided that 26% of Chinese GDP, 26% of Chinese GDP equivalent will be spent on health care for elderly people. Okay, this is a very huge expenditure. Now guys, actually if we see China, China is imitating Japan. China is imitating Japan. Japan today is a gray economy. Gray economy means the proportion of old people is huge in Japan. Now basically what happened, there was a research paper that was published, research paper. So Japan's Research Institute of Economy, Trade and Industry, it published one research paper, and it provided that Japan and China has seen similar economic and demographic profiles. Okay, so as Japanese population behaved, Chinese population behaved in the same way. Today Japan is facing the problem of aging population, and in coming few years China will face the problem. Fine, so Japan and China is comparable. And second, this is very important, the same report has said that at the same time, India's proportion of children and elderly population in 2020 is similar to China in 1980. So Japan and China were similar, and China and India are similar. China and India are similar. So we see this particular thing, that what population Japan is facing today of aging population, what population China will, what problem China will face tomorrow of the population, the same problem India will also face in the mid term. So we will also face the problem of elderly population. Now, China in 1980s started to focus more on investing in health, education, such kind of a thing. It made their population more skilled, and because of that China achieved double-digit growth. We also need to focus on this thing, that how we can invest on our youth, how we can invest on their skill sets, health, education, and at the same time how to take care of elderly population that is going to increase in times to come. This is something that we need to that we need to take in account. So this is guys all about this particular article. Fine, I hope you have understood it. And now moving to next article. So here guys, there are 2 articles which have come on same line. So what we have done, we have clubbed both of these articles. Okay, so let's read first of all heading of this article, and then we'll go in detail. So big tech aggregators must split revenue fairly with news creators, information and broadcasting secretary. Political support key to make platforms pay news publishers. These 2 articles have come. Now, before going in this particular article, guys, you need to understand some of background, and only after understanding the background, you will be able to make sense of the article, fine, in more proper way. So let's understand some background first. Background. Okay. So basically, guys, we have news publishers. Now, these news publishers, they have employed journalists. These journalists are going in the field. They are carrying investigative journalism. They are spending a lot of resources there, financial resource, physical resource, human resource. So these news publishers or news publishing agencies, what they are doing, they are creating news. They create news. Okay. Now, as they create news, then they earn revenue. Now, their revenue comes from 2 sources. Number 1, their revenue comes from subscription. And secondly, their revenue comes from advertisements. Okay, this is their 2 major streams of revenue. Now, over the past few years, guys, we have seen that there is a very big change that is coming in patterns of consumption of news. What is this change? Guys, today we see this thing that internet has proliferated. And today, people, rather than buying newspaper, rather than buying a copy of newspaper, what they do, they prefer on reading news digitally. They prefer reading news digitally. This is one change that has come. Moreover, guys, the revenue from advertisement that were coming, now these advertisements have also shifted more to digital format, more to digital format. This is one change that had come. Okay, good. Now, technology companies come in between. Now, technology companies come in between. Big tech comes in between. And here, let's take example. Google comes in between. Facebook comes in between. Okay, fine. Now, what happened? What happened? Okay, Google in their Google News, Facebook at their platform, what they do, they are showing the news directly. Now today people, what they do, rather than buying a Hindu newspaper's copy, they'll simply go to Google, they simply go to Facebook, and they will consume their news directly there. Now guys, because of this particular thing, what is happening, the revenue for these news publishers, they are going down. Today people are not buying the subscription, they are directly taking the news from Google, so their revenue went down here. Okay, and secondly, advertisements. Now what is happening, people are not visiting these websites of newspapers, rather they consume all the news on Google and Facebook. For example, Google news section is there, in Facebook news snippets are there, so people consume news there. The point is that advertisers, they will also place their advertisements not in these newspapers, not on the websites of these news publishing agencies, rather they'll place their advertisements on Google's search engine. They will place their advertisement on Facebook, and the revenue will go to Google and Facebook. So point is that digital news today, neither they are getting much revenue through subscriptions, nor they are getting much revenue through the advertisements. All this money has been channeled to Google and Facebook. Because of this particular thing, news publishers, they want compensation. They want compensation. Guys, you see this particular thing in, I every day get the messages, sir, that please give the PDF of newspaper, but I never give the PDF. Fine, why I don't give the newspaper PDF? Because guys, it doesn't takes much. I want that you should buy a copy of newspaper. You can take e-paper subscription. Hardly it cost 1300-1400 rupees for entire year. So not even 150 rupees for 1 year you have to pay. But this is something which is our moral and ethical responsibility. We have to give this responsibility, fine, so that these news medias can also survive. Okay, so I hope that you understand the reason that why I don't share the PDF of newspaper. Okay, so basically, now they want that the Google, Facebook or big tech should compensate them. Now these particular issues are going on in many countries. Okay, these issues have been there in Australia, Canada, France, European Union. Okay, now let's understand this particular issue little bit more. So basically, pre-COVID-19, the issues regarding the financial health of digital news industry, fine, as well as the parent news industry, their declining financial health, this issue has came to a lot of light. Okay, so today basically I told you that the fair share of revenue should be shared with by the big tech companies to the news agencies. Now for this particular matter, in Australia, Canada, France, European Union, news publishers have reached to their courts also and have asked the courts, the competition commission in those countries, that they should tell big tech company that they should pay to news publishing houses. Now let's understand that what are the reasons that we need a policy, what are the reasons that we need a policy that that big tech should pay to publishers, Number one reason, guys, is that basically big tech platforms, they are competing with these news agencies for digital advertising. Now these big tech, what they are doing, they are using the content generated, which is generated by the media businesses. Okay, but money is not going to them. Fine, the big tech is using the content of news publishers, but money is not going to them. Money they are keeping in their own pockets. Okay, second, so what it is, it leads to injustice. Second thing is that basically, guys, as these news media houses are not getting money, how they can invest in quality journalism, how they can invest in investigative journalism? So as their revenues is going down, profitability is going down, they cannot use money to fund good quality journalism. Now, when we talk about media, media happens to be the fourth pillar of democracy. So functional and viable media is very much important. How that will happen? Thirdly, guys, liberal democracy, where it's important to have a diverse and vigorous news media. Now see this thing, if profitability of media houses will go down, small media houses will completely be wiped out, and because of that thing, the competition in media, okay, the diversity in media will be lost, which will go against the principle of liberal democracy. So this is something which is going to be a very big problem. So therefore these news media houses, they are saying that big tech should pay them money. Now in order to get implemented, political support is needed. Political support, government need to support this particular idea. Now we can here see the example of France, case study of France. Now what happened, basically just last year actually, France, it passed a law to enforce European copyright directive. Now what happened, France provided that big tech companies such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, etc., the big tech companies, okay, not Twitter is actually in big tech, it is not in, but Google, Facebook, such as them, if they needed to, if their platforms are featuring the content of news publishers, okay, for example Google, if it is featuring the content of the news publishers, then they have to settle an arrangement with the news publishing agencies. They have to pay money to news publishing agencies. Okay, this was the directive that was given. Now what happened, Google, they told publishers that if you would like us to continue to feature your content on the search engines, please let us do under the new law for free. If you want that we should showcase your content, please don't take money from us, let us do it for free. Now guys, obviously this is not something that was desirable, and the news publishers, then what happened, then they approached to France competition authority, and France competition authority slapped a fine of 500 million euros on Google. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Okay, in the same way in Australia also this particular matter has been taken cognizance. So in this way we find this thing that these news publishers, the Google versus big tech versus news publishing agencies, tussle is going on. Okay, and here policy response is needed. The same issue is going on in India. So here guys, it is being provided that in India also we need a strong policy response. In India also we need a strong policy response. Okay, so just now if we read the headlines, so what are these two articles? Okay, article 1, big tech aggregators must split revenue fairly with news creators. So I&B secretary said that the big tech Google should share their revenue, should give the money. And second guys, here we see this thing, political support is key to make platforms pay news publishers. Until now nothing has happened, but we need to look on this particular arrangement soon. So this is all. Okay, now moving to next article, news guidelines to regulate promotions on social media. News guidelines to regulate promotions on social media. Okay, now so basically guys, this particular topic we are going to use for GS paper number 4, social influence. GS paper number 4, ethics, topic of social influence. Social influence is mentioned in attitude unit, of attitude. Okay, now what is this entire issue guys all about? First of all, let's take background as we do in most of the articles, and then we'll go in this article. So guys, today you know this particular thing, that who are the big influencers. So today celebrities, traditional Bollywood celebrities, they are not big time influencers. Big time influencers are the social media influencers, YouTubers, Instagram influencer, Facebook influencer. So today, suppose tomorrow I come in the video and I bring a kind of a product, okay, product of any cosmetic company, and I start applying that product on my face, and I say that, do you know the secret of my good skin? It is this product. I use this product before I start my video. In every class I use this product. Now you don't know whether I am advertising this product, whether I got money from that company to advertise this product, or I am genuine user of this. Many of you will think that I am actually using this product, you will buy that product, but actually at the back end there was a kind of a that company paid me to show this product in my ad, in my video here on this platform. Okay, so this is something that is happening. So guys, many number of times these shampoos, these products, shampoos, such cosmetics or any such kind of product is being endorsed. Okay, fine, you have seen many of the YouTubers, they are endorsing some cream, shampoo or some kind of a healthy drink or etc. The point is that now the center has released the notification that if you are endorsing any such kind of a product on YouTube, okay, or if you are endorsing any such kind of a product on your social media, fine, where you say that I am using this product, where such endorsement is there, you need to give a very clear clear information about that particular thing. You have to give disclosure. So endorsement guidelines for the celebrities, social media influencers, okay, they have to endorse that if they are endorsing a product, okay, if they are endorsing a product, they have taken money for that particular thing. So they need to say that this is an advertisement, or this is a sponsored product, or this is a paid promotion. Such kind of taglines should be imposed. Okay, so if I'm making a video and if I use any kind of if I show you that I'm using this product, I have to write it is a advertised, it is a sponsored, or it is a paid promotion. Okay, this is something that is there. Now guys, at the same time, it has also been provided that many number of times they have tried to implement this thing, but what they do, they hide this particular thing in some corner. So they have to write this information so clearly that is extremely hard to miss. It is extremely hard to miss. Okay, now what benefits are to be written? What benefits are to be written? Okay, what benefits are to be written? So if any person is getting any monetary incentive, any trip, any hotel stay, media barters, coverage, any award, any free product, with or without condition, any discount, any gift, any family or personal or any such kind of a benefit if they are getting, they have to display that particular thing. Now, if they don't display it, then under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019, there can be penalties that can be imposed. So penalty up to 10 lakh rupees can be imposed on manufacturer, advertisers and endorsers. And if it is a repeated offense, then penalty up to 50 lakh rupees can be imposed. So these social media influencers, when they are endorsing these products, now they have to display predominantly so that innocent people can understand that whether it is a kind of a paid review or whether it is a genuine review. So you have to do that particular thing. But guys, implementation of it is going to be difficult at certain times. Why? How you can make out that whether a person was giving a genuine review or whether it was a paid collaboration? How that particular thing will be proved? So this is going to be an important problem that will come in this particular direction. Now, moving to next article, and this is an editorial article that we are going to take now. Okay, so there is hardly any autonomy at the panchayat level. Now, this particular article, guys, is evaluating panchayat's autonomy. So, therefore, this article is going to be very important. GS paper number 2, local self-governance or grassroots democracy. This topic will be important. Now, let's discuss this particular topic in detail. Now, first of all, guys, this particular year, we see this particular thing that 2022, 50 years got, just a minute, guys. Fine. Yes. A minute. Yes. So, 2022, 30 years have happened. 30 years, 3 decades have happened since we passed the 73rd and 74th 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So as 3 decades, 30 years have been passed, we need to evaluate critically that how the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act has been effective. Now guys, see this particular thing. There are many reports that have come. There are many reports that have come where sarpanches, they have alleged that they are not able to get the funds that have been given by the state government for many schemes. So state government has released the fund, but they are not getting funds in their own hand. Because of that, developmental work either is being delayed, or sarpanches many number of time have to use their own money for developmental work, and then they will get the money. So for example, guys, today some construction activity is going on in village. Okay, sarpanch have to spend his own money. After few months, that money will be received. This is something that is happening. So they have to depend on private resource or borrowing of large amount. Now, guys, it has been provided that even today, after 73rd and 74th Amendment Act was passed, which gave constitutional status to local institutions, discretionary authority, discretionary autonomy of spending their funding, and autonomy of their resources they don't have. So we need to bring changes in this particular direction. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about panchayats, there are three main sources for the funds of panchayat. How panchayats get the money? Three main sources. Source number one, they have their own sources. So they have been given certain powers. For example, they can collect certain local taxes, revenue from common property, resources, etc. So this is their own resource. Secondly, they get the grant in aid. They get grants from center government and state government. Okay, a grant for community toilet, grant for this project, grant for that project. And then there are certain scheme-based funds. Okay, so beti bachao beti padhao, then there is, let's say, beti bachao beti padhao is there, and then let's say there are other many such kind of schemes. For that also they are getting the money. Okay, then this is the issue. Now guys, when we talk about the panchayat's own sources, this is money on which they will have the maximum control, but this their own source is a very tiny fraction of their total resource that they need. So it means they have to be dependent on state or the central government for maximum of the money. So financial decentralization up till now has not happened properly. This is something, this is the very big issue. So their access to discretionary grant, okay, it remains contingent on political and bureaucratic connections. If they have good connections politically with the DM, etc., IAS officers, they will be able to get their funding into the time, otherwise no. And often it has been seen that there are inordinate delays in transferring the approved funds. The funds that have been approved, they are actually not coming in time. This is a very big issue. So there are severe constraints on panchayats. There are severe constraints on panchayats. Okay. Now guys, often the money that is being given to panchayat, there are some limitations also that is imposed on that particular money. For example, you have to spend a significant part of that particular money in purchasing the poster of the national leaders. Okay, you have to distribute sweets of that money in the local school at some national festivals. So point is that autonomy is not being given, they are being imposed how they can use that particular money. Moreover, many number of times guys, it has been provided that the sarpanches, panchayat members, their autonomy is curtailed. For example, it has been provided that apart from sarpanch, if any amount, if any money is to be dispersed to the panchayat, then bureaucratic concurrence, bureaucratic approval is needed. For example, sarpanch and along with the sarpanch, panchayat secretary Jitu Bhaiya have to co-sign the check. Fine, have to co-sign the check. So if sarpanch needs to receive some money, okay, then the money will be given only when the panchayat secretary will co-sign, will approve that particular money. Now many number of times guys, we see this particular thing that often panchayat secretaries, they have their vested interest in this particular process, or many number of times just because of some bureaucratic tangles they delay this process. This is something that is a very big issue. Okay, moreover, it has also been provided that the state government, they also bind local government through the bureaucracy. They slow their work. For example, they require technical approval from engineering department, administrative approval from the local officials. Okay, and only after giving so many of the approvals, they will be able to get their funding. So what happens? It delays the developmental activities. Okay, now Here guys, it has also been provided that at certain times on, and actually not certain times, and most of the times the sarpanches and panchayat members don't have even control on human resource that is working with them. So even the employees such as village watchmen, employees working for panchayat such as village watchmen, sweepers, okay, their appointment is conducted at the district or the block level. Sarpanch doesn't even have the power to dismiss these local level employees. Now what is the problem? This problem in this case is that often there is a culture of impunity that is found in sarkari karamcharis, okay, government employees. So government employees, they have this assurance that nobody can remove them from their job, and their accountability is often diffused. Okay, so there are certain local, there are these employees who are working at the level of village, but how they will be able to give their accountability? Sarpanch cannot check their accountability because Sarpanch doesn't have disciplinary power to discipline them. So basically this is a very big issue that's going on. Then at the same time guys, it has also been provided that gram panchayat acts in many states. Fine, the gram panchayats that are there, they have empowered district level bureaucrats, and we see this thing that even district collector can act against sarpanch for misconduct, okay, and many number of times we see this particular thing, for example in Telangana more than 100 sarpanches have been dismissed from the office by district collector. Now you see this thing, a sarpanch, a panchayat member is an elected member, okay, and when we talk about the district collector, okay, these are the appointed, okay, elected versus appointed. So appointed person having more power on the elected person. So by this particular thing, autonomy of sarpanches, autonomy of the panchayat members have went down. Okay, so this is something that is the concern, and we need to give real functional autonomy with respect to finances, with respect to governing their own matters. That will be the true spirit of 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So we need to ensure that they become the robust institution of autonomous functioning. Fine. Now moving to next article. Okay, so this is another article, a G20 presidency to amplify South Asia's voice. Okay, now let's discuss this particular article. So guys, we know this particular thing. First of all, the article will be important in GS paper number 2, international groupings. So we know this particular thing that India has assumed the presidency of G20 recently, and for the year of 2023, India is going to be G20 president. So India can take up many of developmental matters here. Now see this particular thing. Basically in the recent times, first of all, as being leader of G20, India had identified all these priorities that India is going to focus upon: green development, climate finance for developing countries, life movement to ensure sustainable consumption, accelerated inclusive and resilient growth, okay, so that nobody is left behind, sabka saath sabka vikas, accelerating progress on sustainable developmental goals. So 2023 SDGs are to be achieved, and 2023 we have already reached. Technological transformation, digital public infrastructure. So India will guide the world, will give the lessons at how we used Bheem, UPI, RuPay, Cowin, fine. So such digital transformations, India's digital India stack, India can showcase to the developing countries. Multilateral reforms, India will be going forward with reforms at level of UNSC, at the level of World Bank, IM, and all such reforms. Women-led development. So these are certain priorities that India has focused upon. Now guys, understand this thing that these all priorities are global. Every country in world is concerned with these priorities, and it fulfills India's motto of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, world is one global village. So India's tagline under G20, that is one earth, one family, one future. Okay, so all these priorities goes in line with that. Now understand this particular thing guys. Actually when we talk about many of the problems, particularly in the South Asia, many problems are global in nature. Okay, the countries of South Asia, they are facing challenge in their independent capacity, but they have a potential to influence others also in the region. See this particular thing. In 2022, we saw that inflation became very high in Sri Lanka. Fine, then there are the damages caused by the flood in Pakistan. Now, if these countries will become destabilized, their neighboring countries will also face the economic impact. So the problems today have global. So India need to promote collective action at G20. We need to ensure that collectively how we can become economically stable, collectively how we can become geopolitically stable. So collective actions are needed. Now, when we talk about India, guys, India is the India is South Asia's largest country. We are having the most robust economy in South Asia. So India is suited well to take up these particular issues. Now, at the same time, guys, if we see right now, the G20 Trioca is made up of India, Indonesia, and Brazil. What is this G20 Trioca? First of all, G20 Trioca. Trioca means three countries: the present president of G20, past president of G20, and the upcoming president of G20. So today, the G20 is a Trioca is made up of these three countries. See, India is the present president of G20. Indonesia is the past president of G20 last year, and Brazil is going to be the future, the next upcoming president of G20. So these Trioca is made up of three countries, and all these three countries are developing countries, and this is a symbol that how the leadership is going in the hands of the developing countries. So the developing countries are the future of tomorrow. After Brazil, the next country that will become the G20 president will be South Africa, and South Africa is also developing. So how developing countries are playing the leadership role, this is an important thing there. Now, basically the challenges, some of the key challenges that we have in South Asia: post pandemic recovery, economic recovery is very weak, high commodity prices, high inflation, unemployment. These are some challenges. Okay, then there are other challenges on environmental front. For example, South Asian countries are dependent a lot on fossil fuels. 63% of greenhouse emission that are coming, they are the energy generation. Okay, we are dependent a lot on the fossil fuel energy. Health infrastructure is to be improved in South Asia. Okay, particularly in G20, in the aftermath of COVID-19, we have seen this thing that the health infrastructure became really overwhelmed. Then basically it has also been provided that the global cooperation is needed to go beyond technology transfer and financial aid to cover losses and damages brought by the climate change. So as now the sea level is rising, many of the countries will face a lot of global challenges. Their coastline will be suffered. Many of the countries which are based on beach-based tourism, they will be impacted. So for those kind of damages, they needed to be compensated. Who will compensate? Historical emitters. Who are historical emitters? Developed countries. So developed countries need to compensate. See, there is a loss and damage fund also that got created recently in COP27 that held in Egypt. But how actually it will come through, whether it will be given or not, who needs to put forward that cause, who needs to take leadership there? India. Okay, so this is something that has been there. Then guys, after moving in this particular direction, so multilateral organization, fine. For example, World Bank, a group of institutions, United Nations, within the United Nations Security Council, we need to bring the reforms of these multilateral institutions. We need to focus on really democratic, decentralized architecture. We need to promote decentralized architecture in these institutions. Today we see that these global institutions, particularly the United Nations Security Council, it is dominated largely by the global north. Fine. So we need to bring their reformation. Finance institutes are needed to be reformed for economic development, and here India can play a very important role. So basically guys, India today has added responsibilities. Many of the non G20 nations, non G20 nations, okay, the countries which are not the, because in G20 we have the 20 biggest economies, both developed and developing. But what about the least developed countries or underdeveloped countries? They are not the part of G20. So on their behalf also, we need to bring forward the reforms. Okay, so guys, already we have become the global south leader, so we need to focus on overarching reforms. So that is all about how India needs to play its leadership role in G20 and how needs to specifically focus on South Asia. Now moving on, internal security challenges are now thematic, says Shah. Now what is this particular article, guys? Now see, I think that Minister of Home Affairs speech has been Minister of Home Affairs speech has been written by some IAS or some IAS aspirant at least, because we see this thing that directly GS3 related substance of internal security has been given in the recent speech that has been made by the Union Minister of Home Affairs. Okay, fine. what Union Minister of Home Affairs had said, he had said that India's internal security situation is changing. Okay, by the way, where it will be important? It will be important in GS3 internal security. He says this particular thing that first of all, India's internal security challenges are transforming from geography to thematic. Okay, our challenges have transformed from being geographic to thematic. Now, it has been provided that earlier India's internal security challenges were geographic. For example, different regions have different internal security challenge. We see this particular thing that there was insurgency and unrest in the northeast, different kind of a challenge because of their geography. There was a terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. There was left-wing extremism, Naxalism, Maoism in left-wing extremist area, particularly in the regions of Chhattisgarh, etc. Chhattisgarh, parts of certain Odisha. Okay, so there is a red corridor that they are trying to create in central India mainly. Okay, so left-wing extremism in central India, insurgency in northeast India, terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. So geographical internal security challenges were more prominent in India. But now what has happened, these challenges have transitioned from geographic, we are now seeing the thematic challenges. What are the thematic challenges? So today we see this particular thing that challenges such as cyber security, data security, okay, privacy breach, these challenges are become new. Okay, multi-dimensional challenges are coming. Narco terrorism, how terrorism are leading to fourth generation war, where ideological warfare is being brought about. These are new these are new thematic challenges that are coming in India. These are new thematic challenges that India is facing. Now, geographical challenges have declined. It has been provided that, see, in 2010 there are 96 terror affected districts. Now there are only 46. Okay, 72% of security vacuum according to Ministry of Home Affairs has been plugged, and 100% security vacuum will be plugged by 2024. They have also provided that left-wing affected regions, they have also seen a decline. They seen a 40% to 60% decline. So point is that the geographical areas which had these challenges are going down, and now more theme-based challenges. The theme, for example, cyber security is a challenge. It impacts entire nation, not one particular geography. Data privacy, it impacts entire nation, not one particular geography. So these challenges have emerged. Okay. Moving on, guys, further. Government policy muddle is stalling production of biodegradable plastic. Now, this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, environment. GS paper number 3, environment. Now, guys, actually what has happened, many number of times ambitious goals without elaborate planning makes situations more complicated. This is one example that we are going to see in this particular article. The goal was ambitious, but planning was not proper. Now see this thing. If we see from 2022, center government has banned the single-use plastics. Single-use plastics, okay, have been banned. It has been provided that only those plastics can be used which are biodegradable. Now, what do we mean by the biodegradable plastic? Plastic that can degrade to 90%. That plastic is biodegradable, and that plastic can be sold. Single-use plastics which cannot degrade, they cannot be sold. Good. Now, basically, guys, it has been provided that now, if there is if a plastic is biodegradable or not, how that particular thing will be proved. For that particular thing, a test has to be done. Suppose I'm a plastic manufacturer, I'm a polybag manufacturer. I suppose I'm a polybag manufacturer, and I will manufacture a kind of a polybag. Then I will bring that for testing, and then I will prove that it is biodegradable. Now, Bureau of Indian Standards have provided that to test these plastic bags as they are biodegradable or not, we need to test them, which will take 2 years. At least 2 years are needed to check that whether they are biodegradable or not. So what is to be done meanwhile? What is to be done meanwhile? So Environment Ministry passed a notification in July 2022 where they said that single-use plastics are banned, but if you can manufacture biodegradable plastic, you can avail a provisional certificate. That provisional certificate will be valid till 2023, June 2023. Okay, and meanwhile, on the basis of this provisional certificate, you can manufacture. Okay, now when the manufacturers are going to procure this particular certificate, that interim test, they are going to procure this provisional certificate. They say that such certificate could be procured if they have obtained an interim test report. But this interim test report will need to come will be coming in 2 years. Are you getting the point or not? The point is that whether your plastic is biodegradable or not, it will be proved by a test, and the test will take at least 2 years. Okay. Meanwhile, you can avail provisional certificate. But when people are going to avail the provisional certificate, the authorities are asking that you give interim test report. Interim test report. Okay. Now this interim test report say that 90% biodegradation is needed. The point is that the things are not very clear. Okay. The what issue is that the things are not very clear. Fine. Okay. That how to get that interim test report, how to get that provisional certificate. Because of this thing, now actually what has happened, government policy model is stalling the production of biodegradable. Things are not very clear. It is stalling this entire process. Okay, then guys, moving to next article. Wayanad becomes country's first district to provide basic documents to all the tribal people. So recently Kollam was in news because it became the first constitution literate state, and now again we see that the Wayanad in Kerala has become the first state where basic documents such as Aadhaar card, ration card, birth death certificate, election ID card, bank account, health insurance have been provided to all the tribal people. Okay, so this now guys, here we see this thing that this is an example of very effective social justice intervention. So this is a very good example, guys. Okay, now you don't need to see the exact number of people who got that certificate, how many people got a birth certificate, how many people got death certificate, but this shows a very important policy action that has been taken by Kerala, and you can use this in your answers. Okay, you can use such kind of a case study. And now coming to mains practice question. Okay guys, I got one query that I should give this mains practice question at the start of the page, so that on this page itself students can write, the ones who take print out. Okay, so I got that query. From next class I will do that. I will implement it from next class. Mains practice question. State governments are exercising considerable discretionary authority and influence over panchayats, thereby diluting the spirit of the constitutional amendment analyze. So this will be the GS paper number 2 answer for 10 marks. Okay, so you can write this answer, and guys, if you are new here, you can upload your answer at our peer reviewed platform. Link for that platform you can find in our Telegram channel. So when you will visit our main Telegram channel, that is Thinking Palette by Sahil, fine, on Telegram, the link for that channel is given in description box also. So when you visit that channel, there you will find a pinned comment. On that pinned comment, you will get a link. So that is a peer reviewed platform. It means that you can upload your answer there, and your other fellow aspirants, they will also upload. You can learn from each other's answer, and the aspirants, I have seen that, and I appreciate you also. Fine, you are showing a excellent community participation at that platform, as you are giving feedback and review to each other. Okay, so that is something. And now guys, we'll be meeting on Monday. Till then guys, please take care of yourselves.